The Galactic Council had dissolved 17 civilizations before Earth, each extinguished with the grace of a closing aria. Their verdicts unfolded in the cold theater of deep space, delivered not through decrees or declarations, but through the Serathi's silken movements, a pirouette to condemn a planet, a shuddering leap to erase a star system. Compliance was measured in the hush that followed the bowed heads of the Xanathi, the trembling mandibles of the Kasari, the way entire species folded their histories into apologies. The Council's power lay not in weapons, but in the unbearable weight of their certainty. Their dance is a language older than human speech. But humanity had never learned to kneel quietly. When the summons came for Earth, the Serathi prepared their usual choreography, a sweeping, sorrowful piece titled The Falling of Leaves. It had convinced the Illurians to dismantle their war machines. It had coaxed the Ventari into genetic lobotomy, yet as the diplomats gathered in their celestial amphitheater, sensors detected anomalies, primitive human satellites altering course, their trajectories sketching crude, defiant patterns. Radio waves crackled with a sound the translators flagged as laughter. The Council dismissed it as chaos. They did not yet understand it as calculus. In the shadow of Saturn's rings, a Marine-turned ambassador studied the Serathi's rehearsals, her prosthetic finger tapping a rhythm no algorithm could parse. She carried no speeches, no treaties, only the ghost of a detonator's click, and a question etched into her bones. What do you do when the universe demands your song, but all you have is a scream? The answer, it turned out, was not a scream. It was simpler, sharper. A single syllable that would fracture millennia of precedent, its echoes cascading through server farms and solar winds, birthing a meme that outran light itself. The Council had planned for surrender, for negotiation, even for war. They had not planned for humor. Chapter 1. The Galactic Council chamber hung in the void like a fossilized star, its crystalline spires catching the light of 100 suns. Ambassador Olivia Park's boots clicked against the iridescent floor, the sound swallowed by the chamber's oppressive silence. She flexed her titanium prosthesis absently, the middle finger's joints whirring faintly. A nervous habit. The Serathi had called it a gestural relic during her onboarding, their melodic voices dripping with disdain. Good, she'd thought. Let them stare at the thing they'll never understand. The air smelled of ozone and something floral, a scent that clung to the back of her throat. Her dress uniform itched. She'd refused the Council's offered robes, translucent things that shimmered like oil on water, opting instead for marine blacks, the metals stripped save for one, a bronze star tarnished at the edges, the weight of it pressed against her ribs, a phantom fist. Not today, she told the ghost in her ear. Today you shut up and watch. The Serathi floated into the amphitheater, their wings, if they could be called that, rippling like molten glass. No two moved alike. Some spiraled in languid arcs, others jerked in staccato bursts, their bodies flickering between solid and spectral. Legislation by interpretive dance. Olivia bit back a snort. Fucking art majors with god complexes. She'd seen the hollows of their enforcement, entire civilizations reduced to ash and ballets of elegant annihilation. A trio of Serathi descended, their limbs elongating into impossible angles. The lead dancer's face shifted, a mosaic of light and shadow forming something between a smile and a scream. Their dance began. Olivia's prosthesis twitched. The movements were a blade drawn slowly across skin, a spin here, disarmament, a shudder there, compliance. The floor beneath her hummed, translating their artistry into galactic common, through vibrations that crawled up her spine. She didn't need the translation. She'd studied their syntax for months, lying awake in the embassy's cold quarters, tracing the patterns until her eyes burned. Every dip, every contortion screamed the same ultimatum: kneel or burn. Memories flickered, unbidden. Afghanistan, dust so thick it tasted like blood. Her squad's laughter cut short by static, a garbled scream, then nothing. Her finger, still curled around the detonator when they pulled her from the rubble. The doctors offering condolences, the generals offering promotions, the hollow-eyed families offering nothing at all. The Serathis dance crescendoed, wings flaring into prismatic coronas. The chamber's walls pulsed crimson. Final warning. Olivia stepped forward. The podium was colder than she'd imagined. It leached heat through her palms as she leaned into it, the galaxy's eyes upon her. Hollow drones swarmed like mechanical gnats. Somewhere, Earth's leaders held their breath. Somewhere, her old CO was pouring whiskey into yesterday's coffee. Somewhere, a child stared at a screen, unaware they were about to witness either a miracle or a massacre. She opened her mouth, closed it. The words they'd scripted, flowery pleas for mercy, bargaining chips wrapped in silver tongues, turned to ash. Diplomacy was a knife fight, but Earth had brought a quill. No more. Her prosthesis slammed the podium. The crack echoed like a gunshot. Nope. Silence. Then chaos. The Serathi froze mid-pirouette, wings quivering. A drone collided with another, sparks raining down. The floor's vibrations stuttered, emitting a guttural screech, the sound of a machine choking on the unfamiliar. Olivia's single syllable looped through the chamber, warping as it bounced between frequencies. Nope, nope, nope. She turned on her heel, metals clinking, and walked. By the time she reached the docking bay, her refusal had metastasized. It pulsed in the air, a meme, a mantra, a middle finger carved into the digital firmament. Servers shorted out as trillions accessed the feed simultaneously. Mining rigs on Europa scrawled nope across asteroid belts using thruster burns. A teenager in Jakarta projected it onto the monsoon clouds with a jury-rigged laser. The word had teeth, it bit. Olivia's shuttle pilot, a baby-faced ensign with a cracked visor, grinned as she boarded. Ma'am? They're saying you just declared war. She stared out the viewport. Earth hung in the distance, a blue-green bruise. War was declared the moment they asked us to kneel, she said softly. The ensign's smile died. They descended through fire. Back on Earth, the embassy's rooftop garden stank of jasmine and diesel. Olivia knelt by a rosemary bush, crushing leaves between her fingers. The scent clung to her skin, sharp and clean, a talisman against the stench of burning satellites. They'd given her this garden as a peace offering, a place to meditate, the undersecretary had said, sweating through his collar. She'd wanted to laugh. Marines didn't meditate, they dug foxholes and pissed in them. Still, she came here most nights, tending the plants with a veteran's care. Life persisted, even here. Even now, a crash below, shouts. She didn't flinch. The mob had been gathering for days. Patriots demanding speeches, pacifists hurling bricks. Tonight they'd scaled the gates. She watched shadows writhe on the courtyard walls, a terrestrial echo of the Serathi's dance. Ambassador, her aide, Ravi, materialized from the gloom. His tie was crooked. They've breached the east wing. Olivia brushed soil from her knees. Evacuate the staff. And you? She flexed her prosthesis. The joints hissed. I'll water the azaleas. Midnight found her in the embassy's vault, staring at 6 dog tags hanging from a rusted nail. No flags, no fanfare. Just names: Cruz, Varma, Lee, Haddad, Sinclair, Choi. The vault doubled as a Faraday cage. Outside the world screamed. Inside, the silence had weight. She touched Choi's tag. I'll hold the line, LT. He'd rasped, blood frothing at his lips. You make it mean something. Her finger, the real one, trembled. A proximity alert blared. The mob had reached the vault door. Nud. They came with torches and trembling hands. Students mostly, idealists with hollow eyes and homemade bombs. Their leader, a girl no older than 19, stepped forward, a Molotov clutched like a bouquet. You'll get us killed, she screamed. Olivia studied her. The chipped black polish on her nails, the scar bisecting her brow, the way she held the bottle too close to the fuse. Probably, Olivia said. The girl blinked. Then why? Because probably isn't certainly. Olivia nodded at the dog tags. Those men? They died for a probably. I won't insult them by pretending otherwise. Silence. The Molotov clattered to the floor. Nod. Dawn crept in, gray and grudging. Olivia sat on the roof, sipping tepid coffee. Below, the mob dispersed, some to bunkers, others to bars. Ravi approached, clutching a datapad. The Krell fleets have crossed the asteroid belt. She didn't look up. And? The Serathi transmitted. Music. A hologram bloomed. Sheet music scored with dissonant chords. Hidden in the rests. A battle plan. Olivia smiled. Somewhere. A dancer missed a step. Chapter 2. The moon hung low over Jakarta, its pale face scarred by the skeletal remains of orbital defense platforms. Olivia leaned against the embassy's shattered window, the city below a mosaic of blackouts and brushfire. Riots. Smoke coiled through the streets like phantom rivers, carrying with it the tinny echo of protest chants. Nope, nope, nope. The word had become a heartbeat, erratic and feverish, pounding through Earth's veins. She flexed her prosthesis, the titanium finger catching shards of moonlight. It felt heavier now, as if the galaxy itself had begun clinging to it. Ravi found her there. His silhouette, warped by the cracked glass. "They're waiting," he said, voice frayed at the edges. She didn't ask who. The war room buzzed 3 floors below, a hive of sleep-starved strategists and defecting Serathi aides. She'd avoided it for days, orbiting the periphery like a ghost. Ghosts, she'd learned, made better scouts than generals. They descended through the embassy's carcass. The elevators had died weeks ago, so they took the stairs, each step echoing like a landmine's priming. Past the 5th floor landing, the air changed. Stale coffee, burnt circuitry, the sour tang of adrenaline. A Marine guarded the war room door. His rifle slung low. He nodded at her prosthesis, not her face. Recognition, or superstition. Inside, holograms flickered like diseased fireflies, tactical maps of the belt, heat signatures of Krell swarms, a grainy feed of Serathi dancers mid-pirouette, their movements dissected by AI, for hidden meanings. Olivia's bronze star throbbed against her chest. "They're hitting Ceres Station next." Admiral Yusuf's voice was a whetstone dragged over steel. He pointed at the hollow, where a cluster of red dots converged on a mining colony's icon. Intel's solid, intercepted a Serathi tight beam, harmonic frequencies masking troop deployments. "A gift," said Luminar. The Serathi envoy stood in the room's darkest corner, their wings folded into a jagged crest. Olivia hadn't noticed them at first. They'd learned to dim their radiance, to move like smoke. Their voice was softer now, less a chorus, and more a single flute note, hiding, she realized, from their own. Yusuf scowled. Or a trap. Luminar's wings rippled, a gesture Olivia had come to recognize as a shrug. "You are poets of doubt, humans. We admire this." Olivia stepped into the hollow's glow. The Ceres icon pulsed, a dying star. "Why help us?" Luminar's face shimmered, features rearranging into something almost human, almost kind. "Your nope." It was the first true thing we've heard in millennia. The Admiral snorted. "Save the philosophy. Can we stop the Krell or not?" Olivia tuned them out. Her eyes traced the Krell's trajectory, a pincer movement, textbook mercenary tactics. But there in the asteroid belt's shadow, a blind spot, a derelict Serathi carrier, its hull picked clean by scavengers. She'd seen it months ago during a diplomatic junket, its corridors choked with frost, and the frozen corpses of its crew. A tomb. A Trojan horse. "We ambushed them here," she said, marking the coordinates. Yusuf's laugh was a dry cough. "With what?" "Our navy's a quilt of mining skiffs and museum pieces." She turned her prosthesis toward the hollow, the titanium finger casting a blade-like shadow across Ceres. "With whatever fits inside a coffin." The Thanatos smelled of rust and regret. Olivia drifted through its carcass, her mag boots clanking against bulkheads, stripped to the bones. The Serathi carrier's vaulted halls, once resplendent with murals of cosmic conquest, were now graffiti-scarred, and pockmarked by micrometeorites. Human scavengers had left their marks, crude constellations spray-painted where alien glyphs once glowed, a half-rotted poker table bolted to the floor of the bridge. Progress, of a sort. Her team followed in wary silence. The pilot, Kessler, trailed a hand along the walls, his gloves leaving smears of oil on the serrated metal. Christ, even the rats left. Rats are smart, muttered the engineer. Novak. He carried a soldering iron, like a rosary, his jumpsuit patched with strips of Kevlar. The youngest and quietest, he'd volunteered when others balked. Olivia recognized the look in his eyes, the desperate calculus of a man measuring his worth in sacrifice. The hacker, Vera, kicked a frozen Serathi corpse. It shattered, the sound like breaking china. Cozy. Reminds me of my first apartment. Olivia said nothing. She'd chosen them for their irrelevance. Kessler, grounded for insubordination. Novak, a washout from the Martian terraforming project. Vera, a syndicate cyber thief with a pardon inked in blood. Misfits, expendables, her kind of people. They reached the reactor core. Novak knelt, scanning the fissured casing with a handheld dosimeter. Shields at 3%. Core's hotter than a whore's promise. Can you rig it to blow? Olivia asked. He glanced at her prosthesis, then her face. Yeah, but I'll need to stay. Manual overrides fried. A beat. Kessler whistled. Vera chewed her lip. Novak stared at the reactor, his reflection warped in its cracked glass face. Olivia crouched beside him. You don't. I know. He smiled, thin and brittle. But this, it'll mean something, right? Choi's blood on her hands, his dog tags cold against her collarbone. Yeah, she lied. They buried the Thanatos in the belt's shadow, its corpse disguised by debris. Olivia floated in the gunship's airlock, watching the carrier vanish into the asteroid field. It looked smaller now, insignificant. We all do, she thought. Kessler's voice crackled in her helmet. Krell vanguards inbound, 10 mics. She sealed her visor. The gunship shuddered, its engines a dying man's breath. Vera, hunched over a jury-rigged console, fingers dancing across keys, got their comms, feeding them static laced with, oh let's call it aggressive nostalgia. A screech pierced the channel, the nope meme, distorted into a weapon. Olivia's skull vibrated. Somewhere, a Krell navigator was clawing their ears out. Good. The ambush was a feral thing. Krell destroyers, sleek as obsidian knives, slid into the belt. The Thanatos woke in their wake. Novak's voice crackling through the detonator's countdown. Lighting a candle. Try not to blink. The reactor tore itself apart. Olivia's retinas burned. When the after image faded, the Krell vanguard was debris. The gunship lurched, Kessler whooping as he rode the shockwave. Vera whooped louder. Olivia vomited into her helmet. One victory. 1,000 left to go. Luminar found her in the gunship's hold, their wings muted to a dull pewter. Your engineer. He understood the calculus. Olivia scrubbed bile from her lips. He understood nothing. Ah. The Serathi tilted their head, a gesture borrowed from humans. You mistake sacrifice for surrender. She activated her prosthesis's blade. The hum drowning out, Luminar's platitudes. Get out. They left, but not before depositing a data crystal on the floor. It pulsed with sheet music. Another gift, another wound. By dawn, the Nope fleet had grown. Freighters and patrol cutters, ice haulers, and smuggler junks, all daubed with the word in plasma and blood. Olivia watched them gather from the gunship's viewport, a ragtag constellation. Kessler slept at the helm. Vera murmured to her machines, and Novak's last transmission looped in Olivia's ear. Tell my daughter. Ah. Hell, she'll know. The stars blurred. Olivia's prosthesis gripped the crystal, its edges biting into alloy. Somewhere, the Serathi were dancing. Somewhere, the Krell were regrouping. Somewhere, a child stared at a screen,
Learning the price of miracle.
Chapter 3. The asteroid field around Titan glowed like the teeth of a broken comb, backlit by the methane haze of Saturn's rings. Olivia floated in the gunship's airlock, her breath fogging the visor as she stared at the derelict Serathi carrier. It loomed in the distance, a gutted leviathan half buried in ice, its hull streaked with the rust-colored residue of Krell bioweapons. Novak's voice still echoed in her comms, tinny and final. Lighting a candle. Try not to blink. She hadn't. Neither had the Krell. Inside the gunship, Kessler snored in the pilot's chair, his boots propped on a console spitting error codes. Vera crouched in the corner, dismantling a Serathi data crystal with the reverence of a grave robber. The Nope fleet orbited Titan in a loose formation, mining barges retrofitted with railguns, pleasure yachts slathered in armor plating, all daubed with the word that had become a war cry and a prayer. Olivia's prosthesis itched. The surgeons had warned her about phantom limb syndrome, but they'd never mentioned phantom guilt. She drifted to the nav terminal. Luminar's latest gift pulsed on the screen, sheet music translated into attack vectors. The notes were jagged, aggressive, a staccato assault on the senses. Olivia traced the rest between the bars, her finger leaving smudges on the glass. There, a gap in the Krell patrols, wide enough to slip a coffin through. She'd seen gaps like that before, in the mountains outside Kandahar, empty spaces that weren't. You're thinking about it again, Vera said, not looking up. Her hands moved ceaselessly, splicing wires into the crystal. The ambush. Olivia didn't answer. The terminal's glow painted the room in corpse blue. Novak knew the odds. Vera pressed. We all do. Knowing isn't the same as accepting. Olivia's voice surprised her, raw like skin peeled back. Vera snorted. Acceptance is for people who die in beds. The crystal flared. A hologram bloomed. A Serathi dancer, their wings shivering into a fractal spiral. Luminar's signature. Olivia's prosthesis twitched. They're live, Vera muttered, routing it through the Thanatos wreckage. Clever bastards. The dancer's movements sharpened. A spin became a thrust. A shudder became a feint. Olivia's pulse quickened. They're updating the battle plan, or setting another trap. Does it matter? Vera's laugh was a serrated thing. Nope. Nide Titan's surface was a graveyard of failed ambitions. Methane lakes shimmered underfoot, reflecting the skeletal remains of colonization domes. The Krell had turned one into a command hub, its geodesic ribs strung with bioluminescent ganglia that pulsed like a diseased heart. Olivia crouched in the shadow of a crashed ice hauler, her team fanned out behind her. Kessler clutched a scavenged plasma cutter, his breath ragged in the comms. Vera hummed off-key, her fingers dancing across a stolen Krell datapad. Novak's absence yawned between them. Shields down in 3, Vera whispered. Olivia counted. 1. The dome's glow dimmed. 2. Krell sentries stiffened, their chitinous carapaces clicking in alarm. 3. The ice hauler exploded. Olivia lunged through the debris cloud, her prosthesis slicing a sentry's thorax. Krell blood sizzled where it struck the ice, releasing vapors that burned her lungs. She didn't slow. The team surged behind her, a ragged wedge of fury and fear. Inside the dome, the air stank of ammonia and rotting meat. Krell technicians scuttled over consoles grown from bone-like resin, their compound eyes reflecting the chaos. Olivia's blade found the nearest one. It crumpled, ichor pooling black underfoot. Nodes here, Vera hissed, jabbing at a pulsating mass on the dome's ceiling. Burn it, and their fleet goes blind. Kessler fired the plasma cutter. The beam lanced upward, slicing through the node. It burst with a wet pop, spraying acidic mucus. He screamed as his visor melted. Olivia dragged him back, her gloves smoking. Vera, on it. The hacker slammed a device into the floor. The dome shuddered, its ribs groaning. Go, go. They ran as the ceiling collapsed. The gunship's medbay was a closet with delusions of grandeur. Kessler lay on the gurney, his face a ruin of blisters and blood. Vera leaned against the wall, her arms crossed tight. He'll live, the medic said, too cheerfully. Might not fly again though. Kessler's remaining eye found Olivia. Worth it? She thought of the Krell fleet veering blindly into Titan storms, their formations crumbling. Ask me tomorrow. He laughed, then coughed. Fuck tomorrow. Nair Sluminar found her in the gunship's hold, their wings dulled to ash gray. You grieve. Olivia cleaned her prosthesis with a rag, Kessler's blood flaking off the titanium. You observe. We have no word for what you are, a creature that destroys and mourns. It fascinates us. Call it humanity. The Serathi tilted their head. Is that a blessing or a curse? She activated the blade. Its hum drowned out the answer. The Krell counterattack came at twilight. Their dreadnoughts descended like locusts, blotting out the stars. The Nope fleet scattered, firing wildly. Olivia stood on the bridge of a retrofitted ore hauler, its captain dead and its crew panicking. She gripped the console, her prosthesis interfacing with the ship's jury-rigged systems. Ma'am, engine 2's gone. Reroute power to thrusters. Shields at 12%. Divert life support. They're boarding us. Olivia closed her eyes. Afghanistan. Dust. Static. A detonator in her hand. She opened them. Seal the bulkheads. Flood the compromised decks with methane. The crew froze. Do it. Gas vents hissed. Screams echoed through the comms. Cut short by ignition. The Krell boarding party burned. Olivia's stomach twisted. Nope means nope. Mayan. In the silence that followed, she retreated to the ship's observation deck. Titan filled the viewport, its storm swirling in hypnotic rage. Vera joined her, holding 2 cups of something that smelled like turpentine. To Novak, she said. Olivia drank. The liquor seared her throat. To Kessler. To us. They didn't toast. The final strike was her idea. A Serathi carrier, drifting derelict since the first Krell incursion, its reactor though dormant, could be coaxed into a supernova, a coffin for a queen. They approached in a stolen Krell shuttle, its walls weeping mucus. Olivia's prosthesis ached, its neural link fraying. Vera crouched beside her, fingers flying across a console, radiation spiking. We've got minutes, Max. Enough. The reactor chamber was a cathedral of decay. Krell biomass coated the walls, throbbing in time to some unseen heart. Olivia jammed her prosthesis into the core's access port, the titanium finger twisting into a key. You'll fry your link, Vera warned. I know. The reactor woke. Alarm screamed. The biomass sloughed off the walls, retreating. Olivia's vision blurred. Choi's face. Novak's smile, Kessler's laugh. Vera grabbed her arm. Time to go. Olivia yanked her prosthesis free. It sparked dead weight. They fled. The blast scorched the shuttle's hull. Olivia clutched her severed neural link, the pain a white-hot wire in her skull. Vera whooped, slapping the console. Got the bitch. Whole fleet's toast. Olivia said nothing. The stars outside were too bright, too cruel. Somewhere, a Serathi danced. Somewhere, a Krell queen burned. Somewhere, a ghost whispered, make it mean something. She closed her eyes. Chapter 4. The silence after victory was the loudest thing Olivia had ever heard. She stood on the embassy's rooftop garden, now overgrown with weeds that clawed through cracks in the concrete. Saturn's rings glimmered through a haze of orbital debris, their beauty sharpened by the knowledge of how easily they could be shattered. Her new prosthesis, a gift from Novak's daughter, engraved with Nopian blocky child letters, hung heavy at her side. The neural link still burned. A phantom limb fused to a phantom war. They'd given her a parade. She'd refused to attend. Instead she'd walked the streets of Jakarta, her boots crunching over broken glass, and the brittle wings of dead surveillance drones. The city wore its scars like medals, buildings slathered in makeshift armor. Murals of Serathi dancers mid-rebellion. 1,000 variations of nope H into walls and windows. A teenager handed her a spray can. His eyes too old for his face. She left her mark on a collapsed overpass. A single titanium handprint. Let the historians dissect that. The Galactic Council's summons arrived as she scrubbed reactor soot from her nails. The hologram coalesced in her bathroom. Luminar's form flickering like a candle in a storm. Their wings were fractured, one shorn to the bone. They will demand penance, they said. Their voice stripped of melody. Olivia turned the tap, watching rust-brown water swirl down the drain. Let them. They will erase your name. It was never mine to begin with. Luminar's remaining wing twitched. A gesture she'd learned meant sorrow. Come. There is something you must see. The council chamber stank of decay. Crystalline spires lay cracked, their prisms clouded by creeping black mold. Serathi factions circled one another in wary orbits, their dances discordant. A waltz spliced with a dirge. Olivia's boots echoed as she walked the aisle, the sound a weapon in itself. Delegates from 100 worlds stared. Let them. Luminar's faction awaited her at the chamber's heart. Their wings bore human glyphs now, nope woven into featherless veins, middle fingers etched in luminescent scars. One dancer met Olivia's gaze, their movements sharp and jagged. Defiance. The Serathi had finally learned the word. The High Arbitrator descended, their wingspan dwarfing the others. Their dance began, a thunderstorm given form. Submission, repentance, erasure. Olivia's prosthesis hummed, its engraving catching the light. She didn't wait for the translation. Nope, she said. Quiet as a trigger pull. The chamber stilled. Luminar stepped forward. Their dance was nothing like the others. A chaos of jerks and pauses, stutters and lunges. Human, in its imperfection. The mold on the walls trembled. A spire cracked. The High Arbitrator froze. Olivia turned her back on them all. Novak's daughter found her in the vault. The girl, Mira, she'd learned, sat cross-legged beside the dog tags, her fingers tracing Choi's name. Dad said you'd be here, she said. Without looking up, Olivia leaned against the wall, the cold seeping through her shirt. Your father was a terrible liar. Mira smiled. It was Novak's smile, all teeth and no joy. He also said you'd try to talk me out of enlisting. The words lodged in Olivia's throat. Afghanistan, Titan. The weight of a child's future in your hands. Mira stood, clutching a dog tag. Choi's. Don't. Just make sure it means something. When the girl left, Olivia stayed until the silence became a scream. The peace treaty signing was held in a greenhouse on Mars, its glass panels still webbed with fractures from Krell bombardments. Olive trees, stolen saplings from Earth, lined the aisles, their roots clawing at red soil. Olivia wore her marine blacks, the bronze star replaced by Mira's engraving. The Krell emissary was smaller than she'd imagined, their carapace dulled to charcoal. They clicked a data slate toward her, terms glowing in sanguine script. Disarmament, reparations, surrender. Olivia slid her prosthesis across the table. The nope caught the light. The emissary recoiled. She stood, leaves crunching underfoot. We'll send our revisions. Nan found her in the Thanatos wreckage. The Serathi carrier's corpse orbited a nameless star, its hull picked clean by scavengers and time. Vera's voice crackled over the comms, blurred by static and cheap vodka. You're really doing it. Becoming a fucking hermit. Olivia floated through the reactor chamber. Now a tomb for shadows. Call it early retirement. Bullshit. You're waiting for the next war. A piece of the core drifted past. Scorched titanium. Maybe hers. She caught it, the edges biting into her palm. Someone has to. Vera laughed, the sound ending in a cough. Send a postcard. The line died. Olivia drifted to the viewport. The star outside was young, violent, its light painting the derelict in gold. Somewhere below, Novak's initials were carved into a bulkhead. Somewhere above, the Nope fleet patrolled the silence. She closed her eyes. When the alert came, a Serathi distress signal, hidden in a lullaby,
She smiled. Non to epilogue. The ghostwriters called it diplomacy via middle finger. Olivia called it a doorstop. She'd written 3 pages before tossing the datapad into Jakarta Bay. Let them mythologize her. Let them forget. Luminar found her on the rebuilt embassy roof. The garden now bursting with lilies that cracked through concrete. Their wings bore fresh scars, middle fingers overlapping in a chaotic tapestry. You taught them to dance, they said. Olivia flexed her prosthesis. The engraving had faded, but the word remained. They taught themselves. Together, they watched Earth's new satellites blink to life, their hulls gleaming with fresh paint. Nope, a beginning, not an end.